What's up, guys? This is your boy Ed from Savij, and today I wanted to talk a little bit about what it is to play at a 3v3 on a 3v3 team. I know somebody asked me down in the comments for my last video that I did at Omega's 3v3, what are some of the rules and if I could explain how the format is played. So what we're going to do is that we're going to go ahead and get into it so I can break down some of the rules, some of the procedures that we have to follow as duelists. Some good lemonade. All right, guys, so for a 3v3, as you guys can tell, it is 3-on-3 players, right? One of the most important things that I do want to point out is that every player on your team is going to deserve a spot. So they are assigned a spot given by you guys, either player A, B, or C. Whenever you guys decide at the very beginning who is going to be player what, that is going to be the assignment spot that you're going to have to take throughout the rest of the tournament. That means if you're player A and there's 5 rounds, you will be player A playing against player A at all times. Doesn't matter what. One of the most important things that I would like for you guys to keep in mind is that player B will be your strongest duelist. Okay? From some of the rules that, you know, I've heard from what we did at our locals, because I've done 2 3v3 nows, is that player B gets to talk to player A and C, but player C doesn't get to talk to player A. Apparently, there has been a rule change as of recently to where now player C and A can speak to each other and communicate as well. What do I mean by talk to each other, communicate, yada, yada, yada? That means you guys can coach each other and help each other play against your opponent, against your opponent, right? So against the opposing team. How do you play, right? Whenever you start playing, maybe for me, right, I play Magnite Invoked. Maybe I am a Magnite Invoked player playing against a Dry Town player, and I wouldn't know exactly which Dry Town monster to stop best. On my right side, I have my buddy Bren. On my left side, I have my buddy Rich. They both know who or what to stop. They can see my hand, and they can advise me on what to play and where to play what, right? That's the coolest thing, because there's definitely some players who are stronger players against certain decks, or maybe they play that deck or they've played that deck before, and they might know where to stop the deck. So it's super beneficial that you're able to hear your opponents, and your partners, and hear them out. Show them your hand, they show you yours, and whatever the situation is, so you guys can coach each other throughout playing this tournament, right? Each round will be 45 minutes. 3 games will be happening all at the same time. That means that player A plays against player A at the same time that player B plays player B, at the same time that player C plays player C. That doesn't mean that one player gets to play at a time. No. Everybody plays at the exact same time while they all help each other out at the same time. Now, the very important rule here is that if player A finishes his round, gets up, and walks out to the restroom to buy water, to make a phone call, whatever the situation is, if player whatever gets up out of their chair after their round or match has ended, they can come back and sit down, but they can no longer coach or communicate with the rest of the team. So that means that if player A gets up, walks away, leaves, comes back, he has his shiny new water bottle ready to go. They get a good thirst in, right? And they can no longer tell player B where to stop their opponent, player B. They're done. They gotta shut up. It's a super important rule, and it's super beneficial. Over at the 2 3v3s that I've seen this at, against my team, everybody has done a great job. All of our opponents, if they get up, they come back, they shut up, they don't say anything, which is super awesome, because it just shows you how much they respect you as a duelist, and also the rules that have been set, right? I think it's super cool for them to do that. There's 45 minutes per round, like I said, and there's 3 versus 3. Now, the thing is that if player A plays player A and 2-0s player A, that means that they have now been the first player for their team to win. 2 out of the 3 players must win their rounds. What does that mean? Player A can win their round, while player C may lose their round, while player B can come back and win the last round. That is actually going to be super important because you can be the best duelist in the room, but if you're not set up with a good team, you're going to be sunk and you are going to lose. That means that you have to be really strategic on what player to place on what spot. I normally place the strongest duelist of whatever team I have on the middle, so then they can face the strongest duelist of the other team. And therefore, now A and C can be players that maybe either play rogue or don't play as much, right? Because I do have some people on the team who might not have all the time to play Yu-Gi-Oh! All day, every day, or even once a week. Some of my team members play once every 2 weeks, every 3 weeks, right? So at that point, it doesn't mean that they're bad duelists. That means you just got to put them at the edge so that the people who go to locals the most or have the most advantage or the most knowledge against all the decks that go to locals has the ability to sit in the middle. Player A can tie, player B can win, and player C can win. And that means that because 2 out of the 3 have won, that team wins. Or it can go win, 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 you win, whatever. It just beats 2 out of 3. When you play against your opponent, you do the average, just best out of 3, right? You 2 are your opponent, your teammate might 2 are your opponent, their opponent, and then the last person on your team might 2 are their opponent. But at that point, it didn't even matter. Whoever finishes first, whoever gets their 2 points, that's where it ends, and that's when they win. Now, one of the most important things that I've really realized, and I knew now that it's against the rules, is that your teammates actually can't grab your cards. They can't grab your graveyard. None of that stuff. I saw a couple of people at the 3v3s grab people's cards on their team and start doing plays for them. That's super illegal. That's very against the rules. Do not touch their deck. Let them do their plays. Let them play their way that they want to play. Just coach them and help them to make the best decision as possible. Just because you advise your teammate to do something, it also doesn't mean that they must do what you ask them to do. You also have to speak very loudly or loud enough for your opponent to hear. So I can't speak over to my buddy on the right side and be like, hey, play this card first. Can't whisper. I have to be loud enough to where my opponent might hear us. I also can't speak to my teammate in Spanish. I can't go, oye, ¿vas a jugar esa tarjeta primero y luego vas a jugar la siguiente tarjeta? Because that's actually very illegal. For the reason being that it's so illegal is because your opponent might not be able to understand. Your opponent might not, be fluent in Spanish or whatever the situation is. You have to be able to speak loud enough, and you have to be able to speak in a language where everybody understands. So if there's nothing but Hispanic people on the table and they all speak Spanish, you're allowed then to speak Spanish because that means that everybody is in on it. But if one person does not speak Spanish, then you must speak in English. That's just one of the rules. The game is super fun. The format is really enjoyable. I wrote a little bit of notes here on the side just to see what I would talk about. I've hit every point that I wanted to talk about. I really recommend you guys to do this with your teammates. The first 3v3 that I went to, I took 4 of my teams, 3 people on each. I thought it was really fun. I thought it was really enjoyable. And that was on a Sunday. Now, the last 3v3 that we were a part of, that we were hosted, that we were a part of for Galaxy Gaming that had hosted, my fault. I only took 2 teams. There's 3 people on each team. And in that situation, it was just because, some of my teammates worked during the week or they couldn't get off or whatever the situation was, right? I thought it was really cool. It's always really fun. The first time that we went around, one of my teams actually went undefeated all the way. They got first place, which was the team of Oscar Villanueva, Alex Castro, and Rich Lee. They actually went undefeated that whole Swiss round, which was really cool. They didn't win at the end because they did lose at the last round, but that was fine. Then my team, we did fair enough. It was Jordan, Brent, and I. That was a lot of fun. Now for this tournament that we just passed, it was Rich Lee, Brent, and I. And then the last team was my friend Roger, who's not on the team, but he's one of my good friends. followed by my boy Jordan and my boy Charlie, who also play very good decks as well. So we had a lot of fun. We love participating in stuff like this. It makes it so cool because I get to see people sometimes that normally don't come out to locals anymore because they're really busy or because they only have time to do certain things a week. There's a lot of people out there that have families, have really tight schedules at work and stuff like that, right? So it's really cool to be able to go out to these events and see people that you normally don't see during the week anymore, right? But now I want to go ahead and wrap up this video and give a big shout out and a huge thank you to Galaxy Gaming for hosting our last 3v3. Omega Gaming, because they're always hosting great tournaments for everybody to come out, not just one-on-one tournaments. You know, they also have GOAT tournaments that they have all the time. And then they had the first 3v3 here in Houston, which was a lot of fun. And I was really excited to participate in something like that. So if you guys have any more questions about 3v3, make sure you guys ask them down below. I might not have all the answers, but I'm pretty sure I'm kind of fluent in the game to where I might be able to help you out with that answer. So guys, it's been a pleasure. And if you guys need anything else, make sure that you guys add us on Facebook. You guys can ask us questions there as well. We have a Houston page, Houston group, where we post a lot of memes, where we post just a lot of information that is happening either for YuGiOh or videos that I post all the time. So make sure you guys go add yourselves to our group. It's Elite Savij. And yeah, guys, I'll see you guys there, and make sure you guys react to our memes.